Hi everyone. Welcome to one more topic of this self-knowledge course. Today we will be talking about protection conjurations. In this conference we learn to clean the energy of our environment, protect our energy and unmask false beings of light or fake masters who come to attack us or try to divert us in the astral plane. What is a conjuration? A conjuration is a word, phrase, or prayer that has the power to invoke higher forces and repel negative forces. To conjure is to intentionally use the power of the word to protect ourselves, prevent dangerous situations, and dispel negative energies or forces. Why is it important to learn to protect yourself? When we embark on the path of self-knowledge, self-regeneration, and awakening of consciousness, we begin to accumulate energy. As we work to eliminate our psychological defects, we release and conserve energy. That energy, instead of being lost through ordinary sexual practices, is elevated through the practice of supersex, rising along our spine. This leads us toward becoming conscious and superior beings. However, as we raise our energy level, we will inevitably encounter external attacks that will be intended to steal that energy from us or divert us from awakening consciousness. These attacks can be received both on the physical plane and during sleep through the fourth dimension, or on the astral plane. For this reason, the White Lodge has provided us with protection tools. And what is the White Lodge? It consists of fully realized 100% conscious masters who have successfully completed this work and seek to guide us on the same path. If we aspire to awaken, we must learn to protect ourselves from negative entities or Black Lodge, whose purpose is to keep humanity in a state of unconsciousness so they can feed on their energy. These powerful protection tools allow us to safeguard our energy as we advance in our inner work. These conjurations are going to be increasingly effective as we fill ourselves with more and more energy through psychological death and supersex. It is important to note that these conjurations are solely for protection and never for attack. Today we will learn 4 protection prayers, beginning with the Bellowland song and the magical circle of protection. The Bellowland is a song that helps to cleanse the energy of the environment in which we find ourselves. Especially when we go to sleep, when we are going to practice supersex, and every time we are going to carry out a practice aimed at awakening our consciousness. This conjuration will remove any negative energy that can prevent us from reaching a state of concentration to succeed in any practice, like meditation, for example, or that can generate sensations or mental fixations that lead us to lose focus and to energy loss during sexual practice, or that can bother us during sleep, leading us to have experiences such as sleep paralysis. In short, this song will cleanse the energy of the environment in which we find ourselves, repelling negative forces such as larvae, black magicians, witches, and other harmful influences. When singing the Bellowland, we must be concentrated in our hearts, without being distracted by any thought, and without doing any other activity. We sing imagining each word.
Beliling, beliling, beliling. Anchor of salvation, I would like to be close to you. Materialism has no power over me. Beliling, beliling, beliling.
We repeat this 3 times. This chant can be done mentally, but it is more powerful if we do it verbally, since words create. But what is the meaning of his lyrics? Bellowland means tower of fire. That tower of fire is our spine through which the sacred fire, or kundalini, rises when we do the work of sexual alchemy. This fire, which is our own sexual energy, our own power, will be the one that, when we are concentrated, will come out of our hearts to cleanse the environment in which we find ourselves. What does amphora of salvation mean? An amphora is a container where water was formerly stored. Water internally represents our sexual energy. So, this amphora represents our sexual gonads, where our waters of life are contained. As we have been learning, if we use this energy wisely, we will save ourselves. And when we say, "I would like to be close to you," we ratify our decision not to waste this energy again. Materialism is the force of the Black Lodge that doesn't want us to self-realize and that constantly leads us to seek only material things, money, prestige, and to always seek sensory pleasure that will lead us to lose our energy and our spirituality and become increasingly materialistic. That is why we say, materialism has no power over me. Once we have cleaned the environment, we are going to close it by making the magic circle of protection. In doing so, we need to be focused on our hearts without being distracted by any thought and without doing any other activity. Imagining every word. With confidence and strength, we ask our inner being, "My Father, my Lord, my God, I beg you, if it is your will, to command my elemental intercessor to leave my body and draw a magical circle of protection around this place, making it free from the forces of evil. Elemental intercessor, elemental intercessor, elemental intercessor, do your work in the name of the Christ, by the power of the Christ, by the majesty of the Christ." And there we chant the next mantra 3 times. When mantralizing this, you should imagine that a bright green light surrounds the perimeter of the place you're closing in a clockwise direction, creating a dome of light around us or around the place we are protecting. The elemental intercessor is the part of our being that has all the wisdom of nature, also known as our guardian angel. It is important to note that when making this conjuration, we ask our inner Father to command the elemental intercessor. Since the elemental intercessor does not obey us, he obeys our consciousness. We must also bear in mind that when we refer to the Christ, we are not referring to any historical figure, but to the Christ force, which is the fire of our consciousness. By doing these 2 protection conjurations, we will have a clean, closed, and prepared environment to perform any practice. It is very important to keep in mind not to go to sleep without having cleaned and closed our place. This will help us avoid sleep paralysis. This circle will protect us from any harm that someone wants to do to us both physically and spiritually. It is important to know that once the circle is formed, it will only be broken if we step out of it or if someone else does. The 3rd conjuration that we will learn today is the Conjuration of Jupiter. This is a powerful protection that helps defend us from both physical and spiritual attacks. On the physical plane, for example, if we find ourselves in a dangerous situation, such as an attempted robbery, the correct response is to recite this protection conjuration. By doing so, we neutralize the thief's defect, preventing harm. However, this conjuration is especially useful in our inner world, particularly during astral projection. Once we are in the astral plane, we may encounter our own psychological defects or even black magicians who disguise themselves as consciousness, masters, or beings of light to mislead and divert us from our spiritual path. They may attempt to deceive, scare, or seduce us, all with the intention of stealing our energy. This is why we must learn to conjure any so-called masters or gurus who appear in the astral realm. By using this conjuration, we can determine whether a teaching truly comes from consciousness or if it is a deception. We can even use this protection conjuration in the astral to investigate if that person we believe to be a master or spiritual guide is really a master of the White Lodge. Calling him in the astral plane and, upon their arrival, perform the Conjuration of Jupiter. If the being or master that we invoked or that has appeared is truly who or what he claims to be, he will remain intact and even congratulate us for our caution. Instead, if it is a defect or negative entity posing as a master, its appearance will change, it will be visibly disturbed, or it may even disappear. This conjuration is also useful during direct astral attacks from black magicians or witches attempting to steal our energy. In such cases, we must protect ourselves by performing this conjuration. So, how to perform the Conjuration of Jupiter? Focus on your heart and cover your solar plexus, that is, the area around the navel, with your left hand. Raise your right hand and extend your thumb, index, and middle fingers while keeping the ring and little fingers closed. Then you're going to say, imagining each word. In the name of Jupiter, Father of all the gods, I conjured thee.
Te vigos coslim.
As you say these words, imagine a lightning bolt coming out of your 3 extended fingers, striking the being you are conjuring. We then repeat this conjuration 2 more times for a total of 3 times. It is important to know that when we say, I conjure thee, we are conjuring up the psychological defect that could be acting in that person. This means that we are not attacking the person, but rather we are driving away the psychological defect that tries to harm us or deceive us. Thus, we will see that if the one we are conjuring is a conscious being, it will remain silent, still, and intact. Otherwise, if it is something negative, it will change its aspect, it will be affected, or it will disappear. We can also know that it is a false master or entity if he gets offended and scolds us for wanting to conjure him. That is a sign that he is an imposter. It is important that we practice this phrase several times with the intention of learning it, so that when we need to use it, we already have it memorized. Well, that is the protection of Jupiter, and it is important to remember that we must do it 3 times. As we conserve and elevate our energy, we will notice that the lightning bolt it produces becomes increasingly powerful in the astral plane. Now let's talk about the final protection conjuration we'll learn today, the pentalpha. This is a powerful protection we can use in our daily lives, especially when we step out of the house or leave the magic circle. To perform the pentalpha, we need to combine specific movements with certain mantras. These actions will help us create the powerful 5-pointed star within us, strengthening our energetic defense. We can either do the movements while reciting the mantras or simply perform the movements on their own. We will start standing with our arms stretched out, palms facing up and legs apart. In this position, we say,
Klim.
Then we raise our arms, bringing our palms together above the head, and say,
Krishnaya.
Then, keeping the palms together, we lower our arms until our wrists touch the top of the head and say,
Govindaya.
Then, we touch our shoulders with our fingertips and say,
Gopihana.
Then we extend our arms out to the sides again, this time with the palms facing downward, and say,
Vaya Vaya.
And for the final position, we lower our arms, crossing the right arm over the left, and say,
Swaha.
You can do these movements by saying the mantras while doing the movements, or without the mantras and simply shaping the protective star with the body movements or runes. And with that, we conclude this conference. This is a very important conference that we must start applying daily to keep ourselves shielded and protected, especially when practicing the techniques we have learned and will continue to learn throughout this course. We invite you to join us for the next conference, Evolution, Involution, and Revolution. In this, we will explore the different stages our essence has gone through during its journey through the various kingdoms of nature, experiencing both evolution and involution. We will also discuss how we can break free from the wheel of samsara by achieving the revolution of our consciousness. See you next time.